Alright, first off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways, pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom. This is the brother Aram from the James Jamaica camp. Come with another quick lesson. And this lesson is gonna be real short. I don't know, when I was just starting to read the scriptures, I would see words like, or I'll see Sadducees, I'll see Pharisees, I'll see Scribes, and especially out here in Jamaica, or if you hear Christians speak, sometimes they'll call people Pharisee, or they'll call them Sadducees. They'll speak, they'll use those terms, in a way that, once you are a Pharisee or a Sadducees or you're a scribe, it means that you're unrighteous. And you had wicked scribes, you had wicked Pharisees, but you also had righteous scribes and also righteous Pharisees, right? Also, you have the Sadducees. So, reading the New Testament, hearing when Yahweh, is contending with these groups or sects, it actually brings to mind, what does it actually mean. And and these terms, they have, a good a significant meaning, especially from a Hebrew cultural standpoint, as it was groups that are specific within the Hebrew culture, Salakia. And just highlighting these groups and who they are, will help, other Akim. I bring this out to hope that it will edify Akim, to have a broader understanding while they read, and it give more context, as they go through the scriptures, as it did for myself. So no further ado, let me read the scripture. This is Acts 23, and I'll start at verse 6. It says, "But when Paul perceived that one part was Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, 'Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead I am called in question.'" Right? And this part right here, is the key. The part that says, "Of the hope and resurrection of the dead I am called into question." This is what actually a major part of what separates them, right? It says, "And when he had said so, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided." Why? It says, "For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both." Right? "And there arose a great cry, and the scribes which were of the Pharisees part arose and strove, saying, We find no evil in this man, but if a spirit or an angel had spoken unto him, let us not fight against God." Right? Right. So that was the main contention. So let's read verse 7 and 8 again. Well, let me read verse 8 again, Slakia. It says, "For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisee confess both," meaning that they believe in both, resurrection, they believe in angels, they believe in things of a spiritual matter, right? While the Sadducees did not, right? So I'm going to look on, as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to look on 4 terms here. I'm going to look on Sadducees, I'm going to look on Pharisees, I'm going to look on council, because you have what's called the Sanhedrin, right? And then I'm going to also go ahead and look on the term scribe. So just going to highlight those 4 groups, or those 4 categories in this lesson, and hopefully this is edifying. So let's start with even though verse 8, Acts 23 verse 8 pretty much explains it, let's get some more details, and we'll go into the lexicon. So first we'll find the word Sadducees.
Strong's G 4523. Sadducaios.
Right? And it says a religious party at the time of the Messiah among the Jews who denied that the oral law was a revelation of the Most High to the Israelites, and who deemed the written law alone to be obligatory on the nation as the divine authority. They denied the following doctrines, right? So they believe that, first of all, they don't believe that the laws, were given to Israel from the Most High. And secondly, but they do believe that the law should be the only aspect, of Hebrew culture, right? However, they denied a few things. So one, resurrection of the body, which you have, many prophecies that highlight Yahweh's resurrection, right? Immortality of the soul, you have scriptures, and prophecies that highlights eternal life, us Israelites receiving eternal life, right? They also deny the existence of spirits and angels. So a lot of accounts, in the old in the history in the Old Testament, speak about the prophets and certain men of old encountering with spirits and angels, especially when of getting the prophecies, they will say that an angel came unto them, or the prophecies were given through the Spirit of the Most High, right? And the fourth that they denied was divine predestination, affirmed free will, right? So they didn't believe in predestination, right? They did not believe in any of that stuff. That is why, I think it was the Sadducees that came to Yahweh and said that, if a woman died having 7 husbands, in the resurrection of whose wife she is, and Yahweh said, what, you err not knowing the scriptures, because in the resurrection they neither marry or are given into marriage, because what, they're of a different being. They're actually celestial. They don't have the desires of or the needs of the terrestrial, right? So it says a follower of a certain heretical Israelite, right? So also these are two dividing sects, right? So when you see them coming up against Yahushai, and coming up against the men of Yahushai, it just goes to show, just like, today you'll have these different camps that believe in so many different doctrines and things, but the one thing they have in common is actually coming up against GMS, who actually push the names and spirit, and the prophecies of Yahweh Shem Yahushai through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right? There's no new thing under the sun. So here we have the Thayer's Greek lexicon, right? And it says a Sadducee, a member of the, right, it gives more details. So it says Sadducee, a member of the party of Sadducees who distinguished for birth, wealth, and official position, and not averse to the favor of the Herod family and of the Romans, hated the common people, were the opponents of the Pharisees, and rejected tradition, right? Let me just check this real quickly. All right, nothing came up. So they actually, they believed in birth, wealth, and official position, and they actually, they were not averse to the favor of the Herod family and the Romans, right? And they also hated the common people, As a matter of fact, it says a verse. Let me just check something real quickly. Alright, so this is the word averse from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. It says having an active feeling of repugnance, dislike, or distaste. Right? So basically they let me go back here. Right, so it says that they and not averse, and they did not dislike the favor, right, of Herod and of the Romans. So they were pretty much, with the system. They were buddy with the with Herod and the Herodian line, who were Edomites, by the way, and the Romans, right? They hated the common people, were opponent of the Pharisees, which we'll get to in a minute, and rejecting tradition, acknowledged the authority of the Old Testament alone in matters pertaining to faith and morals, right? So they actually believed in the law. They denied not only the resurrection of the body, but also immortality of the soul and future retribution. So they didn't believe that you could be punished in a next life, right? As well as the existence of angels and spirits. They maintain man's freedom in opposition to the doctrine of divine predestination. So they actually believe that they had free will, right? They are mentioned in the New Testament, Matthew 3 verse 7, Matthew 16 and 1. It says, which passages there are associated apparently with the Pharisees, contrary to the truth of history, right? So that's pretty much it for the Sadducees. So now let's take a quick look on the Pharisees, right? And let's play the Greek.
Strong's G 5330. Pharisaios. Pharisaios.
Right? It says a sect that seems to have started after the Jewish exile. In addition to Old Testament books, the Pharisees recognized in oral tradition a standard of belief and life. They sought for distinction and praise by outward observance of external rites and by outward forms of piety, and such as ceremonial washings, fasting, prayers, and almsgiving, and comparatively negligent of genuine piety. They pride themselves on their fancied good works, right? So they like to look the part, they like to act the part, but they were actually they weren't genuine in what they were doing. They were known for that. Just like you have these Christians, or even some of these pastors. They do things to be seen of men, but they don't genuinely do things, right? It says they held strenuous to a belief in the existence of good and evil angels, and to the expectation of a Messiah. So they actually believed in the Messiah, right? Even though they denied the Messiah when he came, right? And they cherished the hope that the dead, after a preliminary experience either of reward or penalty in Hades, would be recalled to life by him, right? By the Messiah, right? So they knew that, in the future, it was possible to be, recalled to life or raised again through the Messiah, and be requited each according to his individual deeds, right? But because they were so corrupt when the actual Messiah came, to give these things unto Israel, because they weren't genuine, they were actually blinded, right? They felt that someone was challenging, they thought Yahushua was challenging their status quo, or actually, and yeah, he did actually point out their hypocrisy, right? He actually did, right? Even called Yahushua. That's why Yahushua referred to them as a whited sepulcher, and even Paul called the high priest a whited wall. And when you look up the word whited wall, it goes back to the same thing. A sepulcher that looks good on the outside, but on the inside they are corrupt, right? It says, in opposition to the usurped dominion of the Herods and the rule of the Romans, they stoutly upheld the theocracy and their country's cause, and opposed great influence with the common people, and possessed great influence with the people. So unlike the Sadducees, they actually had influence over the people, right? And among the common people, according to Josephus, they numbered more than 6,000. They were bitter enemies of Yahushua and his cause, and were in turn severely rebuked by him for their avarice, ambition, hollow reliance on outward works, and affection of piety in order to gain popularity. So it was more about them and what they did, that was more important than a particular camp comes to mind, right? Or sect, if you will, right? Hey, there's no new thing under the sun, right? Now, for the reference that I made earlier about the whited wall, right? let me see, it's supposed to be right here. Right, verse 3 says, then Acts 23 verse 3 says, then said Paul unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall, for sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law. And he was saying this in regards to the high priest, right? But staying on topic, let's look up the word council, and let's also look up the word scribe. So let me get back to this part. Right, the St. John, they were where Sadducees can it's lucky, right? Verse 6, it says, but when Paul received, read it verse 6 again, but when Paul perceived that the one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council. So let's look up the word council, because this is also good to know. I'll play the Greek.
Strong's G 4892. Synedrion. Synedrion.
Right, it says an assembly of, especially of magistrates, judges, ambassadors, right? So basically head people of in leadership, right? Whether convened to deliberate or pass judgment. To deliberate or pass judgment, right? And then the second one says any session or assembly or people deliberating or adjudicating, right? Now A gives a good historical reference as it pertains to Hebrew culture. It says the Sanhedrin, the great council at Jerusalem, consisted of 71 members, and it says viz, right? I don't know what that means. It says scribes, elders, prominent members of the high priestly families, and the high priest, the president of the assembly. The most important causes were brought before this tribunal, in as much as the Roman rulers of Judea had left to it the power of trying such cases, and also of pronouncing sentence of death, with the limitation that a capital sentence pronounced by the Sanhedrin was not valid unless it was confirmed by the Roman procurator, right? So they actually could sentence someone to death, and that is why in the whole issue when they brought Paul to Felix, when they also brought Paul to that when the centurion who saved Paul was hearing the matter, as well as Agrippa, they all were saying that they don't find any fault in Paul that's worthy of death. Therefore, if he hadn't appealed to Caesar, then they would have actually let him go, right? And then there are some cases, you would hear it says, judge him according to that law. And even the centurion was saying that, even not the centurion but the chief captain was saying that, as it pertains to even their own law, he did nothing that was worthy of death, right? But they tried to say that he was blaspheming, just like they tried to do unto Yahushai, right? It's always like that, with the men of the Lord. They can't, whenever they come up against us, they cannot come from the law of Yahweh Shem Yahushai to confound us, because we actually uphold the whole word. But they always try to to form some form of trickery and lies, right? B says a small tribunal or council which every Jewish town had for the decision of less important cases. So you had some things they didn't pass on to the Romans, some things they handled by themselves. The greatest thing would actually go to the top, and then you also had smaller tribunals or council, that would be considered as the Sanhedrin, right? Now it's also said that scribes would be there. So let's look up the word there are also elders in the city, those that are are renowned, and usually they were men of age, there were men of age, right? But let's look on the word scribe. New Testament says, and a certain scribe came and said unto the master, I will follow thee wheresoever thou goest. Where is that? Scribe. Display the Greek.
Strong's G 1122. Grammatus. Grammatus.
Right, it says a clerk, scribes, especially a public servant, secretary, recorder, whose office and influence differed in different states. Right, in the Bible, a man learned in the Mosaic law and in sacred writings, an interpreter and a teacher. So these were what they would consider to be scribes. Right, as I said, all of this would some of these details definitely points back to Hebrew culture. Right, scribes examined the more difficult and subtle questions of the law, added to the Mosaic law decisions of various kinds, taught to eludic Salaki. Let me read that once more. It says, scribes examined the more difficult and subtle questions of the law, added to the Mosaic law decisions of various kinds, taught to elucidate its meaning and scope, and did this to the determinant of religion. Since the advice of men skilled in the law was needed in examination in the cause and the solution of difficult questions, they were enrolled in the Sanhedrin. Right? So yeah, these are men that as I like to put it, there are some there are I don't want to say gray area, but not every matter you'll have an issue where thou shall not do this or thou shall not do that, and then you have the example that I think I brought this up a while back, like let's say it's a case where the law says that you should not kill you should not strike your parents, right? But what if it's a case where one of your parents is trying to kill you, your back is against the wall, and the only way out is to actually kill them. In a case like that, you have on one hand it says should strike your parents, but also it says that do not be not righteous over much, and also you have a law that says that if you catch your parents or anybody committing idolatry, then when it's time to actually put them to death, you should actually cast the first stone. So it really, there are times when it isn't as plain cut and straight to the point, and they would actually have these men that would actually examine the laws day in day out, writing and looking into it, to help to pass a proper judgment. Right, it says, and are mentioned in connection with the priests and elders of the people. See a Bible dictionary for more information on scribes. Right, a religious teacher, so instructed that from his learning and ability to teach advantage may redound to the kingdom of heaven. Right, so if you can see, the Greek word there is also close to grammar. Right, it's very, very close to grammar. Let me see if there's anything here. Regards the latter name as more specific, a Jewish consult, right, and as the more general a learned man, and Hebrastic. Let me go on. Under the word lawyer, also under the word scribe, right? There's also where it says that to examine the more difficult, subtle questions of the law. It says, let's see what's here. Matthew 7:10. So I ask him, why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? Mark 10. Okay, same precept. Also, it says added to the Mosaic law decisions of various kind. Let's see what Matthew 9 verse 3 says. And behold, certain scribes said within themselves that this man blasphemeth. So there are times when certain things you had to it begs to question, right? Difficult question, Mark 7. And then came together unto him Pharisees and certain scribes from Jerusalem. So that is why, these were the men that they sent. You had people of these sects that actually would come up against Yahushua. Check this one as well. I'm going to actually check on this. I'll go to the scripture. And it's actually good because I wanted to look on the term elder as well. Didn't intend for this to be long, but I'm just going as the Spirit allows. So this is elder, right? Let's play the Greek.
Strong's G 4245. Presbyteros. Presbyteros.
So you have elder, I'll jump to B, advanced in life, and elder a senior. For a father, a second definition says a term of rank or office among Jews, members of the great council of Sanhedrin, because in early times the rulers of the people, judges, etc., were selected from elderly men of those in separate cities, manage public affairs and administer justice. Right, among the Christians, which should be the believers, the followers of Yahushua Mashiach, those who presided over the assemblies of the churches. The New Testament used terms bishop, elders, and presbyteros interchangeably, and also it says the 24 members of the heavenly Sanhedrin or court seated on thrones around the throne of the Most High. Right, so you elder is also a good term to look at. Right, so these terms are good to understand and to see which or when these various definitions apply. And I'm going to look on the word lawyer real quickly. Alright, let's look on the word lawyer right here. It says, and then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him, saying, Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? So let's look on the word lawyer right here. Let's see if it actually goes back to scribe. No, it doesn't. Let's play the Greek.
Strong's G 3544. Namikos. Namikos.
Alright, it says, pertaining to the law, one learned in the law, right, in the New Testament, an interpreter and teacher of the Mosaic law. Right, so while with the scribe, they would actually go through the law and the prophets and everything, the full examination, right? The lawyers were more geared strictly towards the law, right? Again, hence the term lawyer, right? Oh, Salakia, let me check back something real quickly and then I'll let you guys go. Really hope that this is edifying. Lawyer, let's see, it's used quite a few times. So Titus, let me just search the word once more. Came up 3. Let me see right here if it's the same word. Yep, pretty much the same word. All right. So that was just a few terms, as it pertains to various sects within the Israelite society, and I hope that when you're going through the scriptures and reading, these various terms and you see these words, you have a bit of picture of what's taking place. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps. Shalom.